Oral hypoglycemic drug. Today we will discuss oral hypoglycemic drug. Oral hypoglycemic drugs are drugs which are used to lower hyperglycemia in type 2 diabetes mellitus. There are currently 7 classes of oral anti-diabetic agents. So, sulfonylurea, first generation and second generation. First generation drugs are tolbutamide, chlorpropamide, and in second generation drugs are glibenclamide, glipizide, gliclazide, and glimepiride. Second group is biguanide, metformin, meglitinide analog, repaglinide, and nateglinide. Thiazolidine-dione drug is pioglitazone. Alpha-glucosidase inhibitor drugs are acarbose, miglitol, voglibose. DPP-4 inhibitors drugs are sitagliptin, vildagliptin, teneligliptin, linagliptin, and sodium glucose transporter 2 SGLT2 inhibitor drugs are dapagliflozin, panagliflozin, and empagliflozin. So, site of action of oral therapies for type 2 diabetes mellitus. So, insulin secretion increase after hyperglycemia, which lowers glucose level, and carbohydrate absorption decrease in gut due to DPP-4 inhibitors due to increase in creatine, GLP-1 and GIP. So, insulin secretion increased. Sulfonylurea and meglitinide analog, these are called secretagogue because they increase insulin secretion. Alpha glucosidase inhibitor, they are act on GIT and decrease carbohydrate absorption. DPP-4 inhibitor also act on gut, which increase incretin, that is GLP-1 and GIP. So increase insulin secretion. Thiazolidine-dione act on muscle and increase of glucose uptake. Biguanide, metformin decrease glucose production in liver. Where injection insulin act, they decrease glucose production and increase glucose uptake. Sulfonylurea, first generation chlorpropamide, tolbutamide. Second generation glibenclamide, glipizide, gliclazide, glimepiride. They can target fasting and postprandial hyperglycemia, enhance insulin secretion, so-called insulin secretagogue. Mechanism of action. Sulfonylurea act on pancreatic beta cell. Sulfonylurea act by increasing insulin release from beta cell in the pancreas. Action of sulfonylurea is mediated through sulfonylurea receptors and closed ATP sensitive potassium channel on the cell membrane of the pancreatic beta cells. Activation of the receptors causes the potassium channel to close and cell membrane to depolarize. This results in a calcium influx into the cell with release of stored insulin. They are effective only in the presence of a functioning beta cell, minimum 30%, on liver, muscle, and adipose tissue. Sulfonylurea probably increase the sensitivity of liver, muscle, and adipose tissue to insulin. The hepatic output of glucose is decreased while muscle uptake is increased. Pharmacological action of sulfonylurea. First, lower the blood sugar in non-diabetic and selected diabetic. Second, lower the elevated free fatty acid level. Third, normalize the metabolic state of the diabetic. Fourth, promote weight gain. Fifth, beneficial effect on the serum lipid and lipoprotein are due to improved control of diabetes. Adverse effect. Secondary failure. Second, hypoglycemia. Especially in elderly, impaired renal or hepatic function, irregular meal schedule, excessive dose, and in vomiting cases. Weight gain, moderate 2 kg. Allergic reaction, sulfonylurea related to sulfonamide, so sometimes give rise to allergic skin reactions. Interactions. Some drugs potentiate their hypoglycemic effect by displacing from protein binding, oral anticoagulants, salicylic acid, and alcohol. Sulfonylurea, similarity and differences. All sulfonylureas have same mode of action. Difference exists in terms of intrinsic affinity and association dissociation ratio to receptors. Sulfonylurea may differ in potency, rate of onset, duration of action. A structural difference results in higher intrinsic activity and the higher potency of second generation sulfonylurea. Patient selection for sulfonylurea. Each patient can treated with sulfonylurea. Sulfonylurea produced good response in recently diagnosed diabetes mellitus. Mild to moderate fasting hyperglycemia, less than 220 to 40 milligram. Good beta cell function and shown by high C-peptide level. No history of insulin use. Sulfonylurea, efficacy of sulfonylurea. As monotherapy, sulfonylurea can decrease fasting blood sugar by 30%. If fasting blood sugar 200 mg per deciliter, sulfonylurea will decrease it by 60 to 70 mg per deciliter. Sulfonylurea can reduce HbA1c by 1.5 to 2%. Blood glucose lowering effect is immediate and effective in short term. The maximum lowering effect of sulfonylurea is usually achieved at a dose that is well below the recommended maximum dose. Uses of sulfonylurea, they can be used as monotherapy in combination with metformin, alpha glucosidase inhibitor, glitazones, and DPP4 inhibitors. Biguanide drug is metformin. The primary drug of choice for type 2 diabetes is start metformin with lifestyle modification. Metformin reduces HbA1c about 2%, reduced risk of macrovascular complication, reduced risk of macrovascular events, reduced risk of any MI or death. So, lifestyle modification plus metformin if HbA1c more than 7. Add sulfonylurea or basal insulin or thiazolidinedione. Metformin mechanism of action. How it works? It does not stimulate insulin release from the pancreas. Several mechanisms may be involved in the anti-diabetic effect of metformin. Inhibition of hepatic neoglucogenesis, so decrease hepatic glucose output. It acts on the enzyme adenosine monophosphate activated protein kinase. Increase the peripheral glucose utilization by enhancing glycolysis and increases the activity of glucose transporter. GLUT4 acts as insulin sensitizer in the muscle and adipose tissue and reduces hyperinsulinemia, delays glucose absorption, reduces the appetite, helpful in obese patients. Absorption, fat and excretion. Metformin is absorbed rapidly from the gut and gives adequate plasma level. Its half-life is 1.5 to 4 hours. It is largely excreted unchanged in urine. Adverse effect. Metformin is generally well tolerated. In some patients, it produces GI side effects like bitter or metallic taste, anorexia, nausea, abdominal discomfort. This can be minimized by starting with a small dose and giving it with milk. It may produce lethargy and muscular weakness. It may produce vitamin B12 deficiency during long term use. Severe allergic reactions are rare. Lactic acidosis, this is with fenformin, not used now. Lethal during an acute illness such as a severe infection, rarely. Before prescribing metformin to an elderly patient, serum creatinine should be measured to assess the renal function. Metformin should be omitted and insulin substituted the day before major surgery. It may be resumed after normal renal function is demonstrated. So, therapeutic use of metformin. Obese patient with type 2 diabetes mellitus, secondary sulfonylurea failure, polycystic ovaries syndrome. In obese patient with polycystic ovary syndrome and oligoovulation, regular ovulation may be restored leading to conception. Non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. So, not only in type 2 diabetes mellitus, but it also used in PCOS and non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. Contraindicated in malabsorption or GI disturbance, low BMI less than 21 kg square meter, marked weight loss, organ failure, renal failure, liver failure, and cardiac failure. It is contraindicated in renal failure, liver failure, and cardiac failure. Acute condition with potential to alter renal function such as dehydration, shock, hypotension, severe infection, active vitamin B12 deficiency, GI intolerance, preparation and doses. Initiate 250 milligram to 500 milligram twice or thrice a day with milk. Increase gradually if required in 1 or 2 weeks up to 2000 milligram per day. So metformin can be used up to 2000 milligram per day. Metformin sustained release tablet is available for once a day therapy. Now, meglitinide drugs is repaglinide and nartaglinide. Advantage: targets postprandial hyperglycemia, stimulates insulin secretion. Mechanism of action same as sulfonylurea. Rapid onset, short acting. Metabolized in liver and excreted in bile, hence safe in renal insufficiency. Less hypoglycemia than sulfonylurea. No weight gain. No sulfa moiety. Flexibility in mealtime dosing, so it is called Ramjan drug. No significant increase in body weight. Can be utilized in mild to moderate renal failure. Nartaglinide approved in hepatic failure. Doses: repaglinide 0.5 mg, 1 mg, 2 mg, 4 mg per dose per meal. Nartaglinide 60 mg to 120 mg per dose per meal. Thiazolidinedione, which are called glitazones. Drugs are pioglitazone and rosiglitazone. Pioglitazone currently only glitazone available currently. Rosiglitazone withdrawn in 2010. Pharmacological action: decrease peripheral resistance to insulin and increase insulin sensitivity to the adipose tissue, liver and muscle, so-called insulin sensitizer. They increase sensitivity of insulin. Hepatic decrease hepatic fat content and ameliorate dyslipidemia. Decrease hepatic glucose production and increase glucose uptake by skeletal muscle. Mechanism of action of thiazolidinedione. Glitazones are potent agonists, that means stimulant, of the nuclear receptor peroxisome proliferator activated receptor gamma, PPAR gamma. These receptors are abundantly present in the adipose tissue and also present in the liver, heart, and skeletal muscle. After binding to the receptor PPARY gamma, glitazones modulate gene expression involved in glucose and lipid metabolism, insulin signal transduction, and adipocyte differentiation and proliferation. Thus, they reduce peripheral insulin resistance and so enhance insulin action. They are classified as insulin sensitizer. They require the presence of endogenous insulin. Hence, they can be used only in type 2 diabetes mellitus but not in type 1 diabetes mellitus. Absorption, metabolism, and excretion. Pioglitazone is generally prescribed for use once daily. It is completely absorbed and metabolized extensively by the liver. The metabolites of pioglitazones are more active and are excreted in the bile. Adverse effect of thiazolidinedione: weight gain, fluid retention, cardiovascular toxicity associated with rosiglitazone, not used now. Hepatotoxicity, not in pioglitazone, decrease BMD, body mass, decrease BMD and increase risk of fracture. cause very unpleasant hunger sensation, especially when used in other anti-diabetic drugs. Before prescribing a glitazone, it is necessary to check for cardiac, renal, and hepatic status. Preparation and doses. Pioglitazone 15 to 45 mg per day in single or BD dose. Therapeutic uses. Type 2 diabetes mellitus. As monotherapy, glitazones are less effective than sulfonylurea or metformin. Other insulin-resistant states such as polycystic ovary syndrome, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. Alpha-glucosidase inhibitor. Drugs are acarbose, miglitol, and voglibose. Indication used especially to control PP hyperglycemia in type 2 diabetes mellitus. Most effective in patients who take heavy meals. Diet contains at least 40% to 50% carbohydrate. Mechanism of action. Alpha glucosidase inhibitor binds competitively to carbohydrate binding sites of alpha glucosidase enzymes in the brush border of the enterocytes in the jejunum. It thus inhibits the absorption of carbohydrate but not of glucose because it does not interact with the intestinal sodium-dependent glucose transporter. Alpha-glucosidase inhibitors are competitive inhibitors of oligosaccharide in a small intestine. Digestion of complex carbohydrate. Amylase enzyme is required and so complex carbohydrate is changed into oligosaccharide which is poorly absorbed by the gut and it is changed into monosaccharides with the help of alpha glucosidase enzyme. Alpha glucosidase inhibitor acts on this site. Alpha glucosidase inhibitor dose acarbose 25 milligram to 50 milligram thrice a day during meal. Miglitol 25 milligram to 1000 milligram thrice a day during meal. Voglibose 0.2 to 0.3 milligram thrice a day during meal. Adverse reaction flatulence, abdominal discomfort, loose stool, liver enzyme may be elevated. Contraindication an inflammatory bowel disease such as ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease or any other disease of the stomach or intestine. Ulcers of the colon, intestinal obstruction, kidney disease. These are the contraindications. Dipeptidase 4 inhibitor. In short, it is known as DPP4 inhibitor. Incretin-based drugs. Sitagliptin, Vitagliptin, Linagliptin, and Saxagliptin are the drugs. Incretins like GLP-1 and GIP are derived from intestine. They stimulate pancreatic beta cell and potentiate glucose-dependent insulin secretion. GLP-1 and GIP are degraded by the DPP4 enzyme. DPP4 inhibitors inhibit DPP4 enzymes. Figure shows how meal stimulate incretin production, GLP-1 and GIP, and which change into active GLP-1 and GIP. DPP-4 enzyme rapid inactivation, inactive metabolite, and DPP-4 inhibit block this DPP-4 enzyme. So, what are the incretins? Incretins are the gut-derived hormones released into the portal circulation after ingestion of glucose or a meal. These hormones are GIP-1 and GLP. GIP, glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide. GIP and GLP-1 accelerate and potentiate the glucose-mediated release of insulin from the pancreatic beta cell. This action of incretins explains the larger and more prolonged insulin response than to IV glucose. Incretin effect. So, this drug is not effective if IV glucose is given. Only food can initiate this hormone production. Sodium glucose cotransporter 2 inhibitor GL SGLT2 inhibitor. Drugs are dapagliflozin, canagliflozin, and empagliflozin. Mechanism of action. Where it works. Kidneys are involved in reabsorption of glucose from the glomerular filtrate. The transport of filtered glucose in the renal tubule into the tubular epithelial cells involve a renal membrane protein called sodium glucose cotransporter 2 SGLT2. This glucose transporter in the proximal tubule is responsible for 90% of glucose reabsorption. SGL2 inhibitor gliflozins reduces renal reabsorption of glucose and so urinary excretion of glucose is increased and thus lowering of blood glucose. So, how it works? SGLT2 inhibitor reduces renal reabsorption of glucose and so urinary excretion of glucose is increased and thus lowering the blood glucose. SGLT2 inhibitors advantage. They are given orally. They reduce blood glucose, body weight, HbA1c. They are usually combined with metformin. Frequency of hypoglycemia is less. Adverse reactions increase genitourinary tract infection, increase serum creatinine, hyperkalemia, hyperphosphatemia, and hypermagnesemia. Oral agent monotherapy. If glycemic control is not achieved, that is HbA1c more than 6.5% and or fasting blood glucose more than 126 mg per deciliter or random plasma glucose more than 198 mg per deciliter with lifestyle modification within 1 to 3 months, oral anti-diabetic agents should be initiated. If lifestyle modification within 1 to 3 months not control hyperglycemia, then oral anti-diabetic agent should be initiated. In the presence of marked hyperglycemia in the newly diagnosed symptomatic type 2 diabetes, HbA1c more than 8%, fasting blood glucose more than 200 mg per deciliter, or random plasma glucose more than 292 mg per deciliter, oral antidiabetic agent can be considered at the outset together with lifestyle modification. As first-line therapy, obese type 2 patients consider use of metformin, acarbose, or thiazolidine. Non-obese type 2 patients consider the use of metformin or insulin secretagogues. Metformin is the drug of choice in overweight, obese patients. Thiazolidine and acarbose are acceptable alternatives in those who are intolerant to metformin. If monotherapy fails, a combination of thiazolidine, acarbose, and metformin is recommended. If targets are still not achieved, insulin secretagogues are to be may be added. Combination of oral agents. Combination oral agents is indicated in newly diagnosed symptomatic patients with the HbA1c more than 10. Patients who are not reaching targets after 3 months on monotherapy. Then combination oral agent is started. Combination oral agents and insulin. If targets have not been reached after optimal dose of combination therapy for 3 months, consider adding intermediate acting, long acting insulin. Combination of insulin plus oral antidiabetic agent has been shown to improve glycemic control in those not achieving target despite maximal combination oral antidiabetic agents. Combining insulin and the following oral antidiabetic agents has been shown to be effective in people with type 2 diabetes. Biguanide, that means metformin, insulin secretagogues like sulfonylurea, insulin sensitizer, thiazolidine. The combination of a thiazolidine plus insulin is not an approved indication. Alpha glucosidase inhibitor, insulin dose can be increased until target fasting blood glucose is achieved. General guidelines for use of oral anti-diabetic agents in diabetes. In elderly, non-obese patients, short-acting insulin secretagogue can be started, but long-acting sulfonylureas are to be avoided. Renal function should be monitored. Oral anti-diabetic agents are not recommended for diabetic in pregnancy. Oral anti-diabetic agents are usually not the first-line therapy in diabetes diagnosed during stress, such as infection. Insulin therapy is recommended for both the above. Targets for control are applicable for all the age groups. However, in patients with comorbidities, targets are individualized. When indicated, starts with a minimal dose of oral antidiabetic agents while re-emphasizing diet and physical activity. An appropriate duration of time, 2 to 16 weeks, depending on agents used. Between increments should be given to allow achievements of steady state blood glucose control. Parenteral non-insulin anti-diabetic agent, ami- amylinomimetic, pramlintide, GLP-1 agonist, exenatide, liraglutide, not used extensively. Self-care, For a diabetic patient, patients should be educated to practice self-care. This allows the patient to assume responsibility and control of his her own diabetic management. Self-care should be included blood glucose monitoring, blood weight monitoring, food care, personal hygiene, healthy lifestyle, diet or physical activity, identify target for control, stopping smoke. What is glycosylated hemoglobin HbA1c? HbA1c is formed by condensation of glucose with free amino group of the global component of hemoglobin. Normally, it comprises 4 to 6% of the total hemoglobin. Increase in the glucose blood concentration increases the glycated hemoglobin fraction. HbA1c reflects the glycemic state during the preceding 8 to 12 weeks. Thank you.